Hello.
Hey.
Do you think all our hellos sound alike? Like if we did a supercut of our hellos?
Oh, hey. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think.
Slight variation. We should stack them up to where it's like kind of a stutter start. So you're like, hello.
Yeah, just go morning radio DJ with it.
Yeah.
Why not?
That should be for our 50th episode or something.
We should.
25th. Let's shoot lower than that.
Yeah, let's have
episode.
a low bar, please.
Oh, man.
How are you?
I'm all right. I'm enjoying my last day of summer freedom.
Is it your last day?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Fuck.
So tomorrow we're starting our in-service training. You know, teachers do this every year, about a week before, so maybe a little more. You have to go in and do your training for the year, and they tell you what's going to be new, give you like half a day to set up your room, and the rest is like meetings of stuff. A while back, they announced we were going to be doing remote learning.
Fuck yeah.
Because of the pandemic, you know?
Reasonable.
Doing remote learning till September 8th. And then after that, families, I guess, would have a choice whether their kids were going to do in person, all remote, or remote, what I call remote plus football, which is remote plus extracurriculars.
Yeah.
Which can be banned and everything too. I mean, I guess I don't mean to malign, but.
I mean, let's be real. I mean, I don't know. Our band program is very coercive. They totally would have made us come back for it.
Oh, yeah.
They would have been like, don't bother coming back if you're not going to come for this.
For sure. Oh, they would have. They're probably doing that. Anyway, and so I was like, okay, well, you know, we'll probably do in-service, like remote, and we'll probably be teaching during that remote time remotely, like teaching from home too.
Yeah.
So we're not teaching from home. We're also teaching, like, we're going to be going into the school and teaching from our classrooms remotely.
What is the point of that?
I can only imagine discipline, like
to make sure you're not just chilling.
Yeah, I mean, or maybe public relations to be like, oh, our teachers are hard at work, you know, because you have those, troglodytes that are out there like, I should get a teacher salary because I have to do this stuff, you know. Mm-hmm. You have those people, and you have people who are like, well, I shouldn't have to pay taxes because those teachers aren't even working and stuff.
My
so
God.
maybe they're trying to counter those people.
There's this very weird generation, and by that I mean the generation, I guess, before us, is where like they think you have to be physically there to do work. It's like you really don't. Like it's the internet, guys.
Yeah, for sure. And so tomorrow our in-service training starts, and that is in person as well. God. And you could almost justify it if like, okay, well, in person, and we're going to be sitting there, and we're going to be having to do these, meetings and stuff. Mm-hmm. We're going to be going to different classrooms in like small groups of 4 or 5.
Okay.
And participating in our meetings via like Zoom meetings.
What the fuck?
So we're coming into work to do Zoom.
That makes no sense. They're just like, this is the weirdest half-assedness of like, yeah, we're using Zoom to stay safe, but also you have to come here so we can like get you all infected with each other.
Oh, we're going to wear masks and
oh my God.
And do the, the temperature screening thing beforehand. But
which you could be asymptomatic, does not matter. Okay.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a point in that.
No.
And so that's what we're doing.
Oh my God. Well, my friend goes to a music school.
Mm-hmm.
They play a horn, and this can really fuck up your lungs. So, and they're making them come back. They have to get a test. But like their insurance is really shitty, and I don't know, it's a whole fucking thing. And it's just trash. I just want to burn it all down.
Man, have we got the topic for you then today?
Hell yeah. All right.
Let's get into this then. What do you want to learn about today?
I want to learn about Emma Goldman.
Emma Goldman. We're starting our series here on women in leftism.
Yes. We made it a little more broad because she was more of an anarchist than a communist. So, yeah. Okay. So we split up this homework. I covered more of her biographical info, and you will be playing the role of Wikipedia, basically. So basically what I did is I took notes over her bio, and I like bolded certain things, and I was like, what's that? So I'm just going to be every now and then stopping and be like, hey, what's this? So
this is a role I'm well suited to. I'm pretty much walking Wikipedia.
Yes.
So.
Okay. You ready to get into this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So yeah, Emma Goldman. She was an anarchist, a political activist, and writer, born in 1869 and died in 1940. That brings me to my first question, which is, let's remind us all what the definition of anarchism is.
Of course. Anarchism is a philosophy where you reject all involuntary forms of coercion at all, any sort of hierarchy. Oftentimes people think of this as like the state, the government, you hate that. True. But anarchists also hate the coercion or the hierarchy of capitalism, of organized religion, the patriarchy.
Fuck yeah.
And these are kind of all themes that Emma Goldman in her writings writes about. One of the quotes that I got from her essays was, "Resistance to tyranny is man's highest ideal." Like, this is really at the center of it is kind of individualism, not in a sense of I get to do my thing, fuck everybody else, but in the sense of nobody should tell anyone else what to do.
Okay.
Individualism, I guess, for her is supreme. She hates also rule by the majority or by the minority, which she sees as coercive. Like,
interesting. Okay. So wait, does that mean she doesn't like voting? I'm confused.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's opposed to voting, opposed to government, opposed to any of that. Because when you vote, you're agreeing on something democratically, but not as a consensus necessarily. Not everybody agrees.
Yeah.
And you're agreeing, and people who take part in that are agreeing that whatever the outcome, they're going to obey it whether they like it or not.
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of where anarchism comes in, is saying we shouldn't have that. People should do what they want at an individual level.
Interesting. And I have a lot of questions about that, because just knowing kind of what she, engages in later in life, I just have questions like, how would that work? And is this an example of it? Stuff like that. But we'll get to it, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think anarchy gets a weird punk rap. I think it gets kind of a bad rap of that's what shithead teens think.
It's like, fuck the system.
Yeah, yeah. And I would like to think it's more complicated than that. That's accurate, right? It is more complicated.
It is. It's way more it's not just like, I don't want to be told what to do. I don't like rules. That's not. Anarchy is a principled resistance to authority.
Okay.
Authority being, coercive, something that forces you to do something you don't want to do. It does, I think, it does have some impracticalities in terms of, what happens when someone's an asshole and wants to do something terrible?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. What happens if I want to do murders?
I don't want them to do that. And I don't know if anarchism has a great solution to these things, and that's why I guess I'm not a real anarchist. I do think it's a good way to critique more centralized forms of communism and stuff. You do want to question, hey, should we be doing this sort of thing?
Yeah, I think I'm on the same boat, where it seems like a good set maybe of ideals or principles. The idea that we should have individual freedoms and stuff like that. But I don't know how to apply that practically. But I think it's a good metric to be like, hey, are you fucking oppressing people in this government, Yeah, yeah. And I think both you and I have this tendency. Maybe it's because we are American and come from that sort of tradition of the, individual rights or whatever. But anarchism kind of speaks to those values of people should have these individual freedoms. And that's, but like you said, it is idealistic. It is something that we're we want this to happen, but then practically, how do you carry that out? That's the communist critique would be. This is all idealism. This is not really rooted in what people need to actually further a revolution. Yeah. I think for me, that's why I want to pair it with communism, because I think if you focus more on anarchism's hatred for capitalism and imperialism, that's where I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm on board. So I think it's very powerful when paired with more of a system. And you see that later in her life, which we'll get to. Yeah. Okay. So that's basically what anarchism was all about. And Emma Goldman was all about anarchism. Yeah. All right. Let's learn about baby Emma Goldman. Baby Emma. She was born in Kaunas, which was in the Russian Empire, present-day Lithuania, to an Orthodox Jewish family. Basically, her childhood was shitty. Her dad was a real shithead. He is an asshole. He sucks so much. Abraham, right? Yeah, Abraham. Motherfucking Abraham. He spent the first, her siblings' inheritance on a failing business. He beat the kids. He kept her out of school because he wanted her to work. So yeah, he was just a real piece of shit, basically.
This guy's a total asshole. At some point, Emma Goldman is asking him to go to school, and he refuses. He throws her books in the fire and shouts at her, "Girls do not have to learn much. All a Jewish daughter needs to know is how to prepare gefilte fish, cut noodles fine, and give the man plenty of children."
Wow, pretty good parenting right there.
Yeah, what a fucker.
Throwing the books in the fire is like a King Triton from Little Mermaid move. I'm going to destroy your secret grotto.
Yeah.
That's pretty shitty.
He sucked.
Yeah. So she kind of took it on herself to study. And she ended up discovering nihilism this way. And she was particularly interested in its role in the assassination of Alexander II. And I've got questions.
All right, spit them.
One is, what's nihilism? And two is, how did that relate to the assassination of Alexander II?
Oh, okay, good questions there. So nihilism, in this case, it's actually kind of a broad thing. Most people think of existential nihilism, which is nothing matters. Life is believed to be without meaning or purpose or whatever.
Emoism.
That's what most people think of nihilism as. But nihilism has a lot of different philosophical stripes.
Okay.
And what they're talking about here is political nihilism, which was just like a Russian political movement, which was just like anarchism. It was like Russian anarchism.
Oh, okay. They just had a different
back
term.
then they called it nihilism.
Okay.
Yeah. And they were very well known for advocating using political violence to get their goals.
Okay. So that's why they assassinated him. Are they the ones that did that?
Yeah, they were the ones who assassinated Alexander II of Russia. It was an interesting story there. He was like a kind of a liberal reformer as far as czars go. I mean, he still wanted to be the czar,
Yeah,
but he was instituting some democracy, some kind of local self-government, that sort of thing.
See the Anastasia dad?
I don't know. I don't think so.
That's how I know all my Russian history is.
I do not think so.
No, he's not hot enough. He's got these weird mutton chops. That ain't him.
So no, not the Anastasia dad.
The Anastasia dad. Anastasia dad was a lot hotter too.
No, but Alexander II, he was like this kind of reformer, but radicals like the anarchists and socialists and everyone else, they were saying, this isn't happening fast enough. You're not doing enough. You're not doing enough reform. Mm-hmm. And so they shot him, killed him. And then his asshole son came into power and reversed all those. And in his sympathy, I guess his dad did get killed, even though he was a liberal reformer. Yeah. So he said, whatever, I'm going to be an autocrat again.
Damn.
Yeah. So it kind of made things worse.
You hate to see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's the movement she was getting involved in. She read the novel What Is to Be Done?
Yes.
That was a very formative novel for people in the revolutionary movement. For her, for Lenin, it kind of helped, I guess, grow the revolutionary movement.
Yeah, it looked good. I wonder if it's good in English.
I don't know. Yeah, it might be weird in English.
I'm intimidated by Russian authors. It seems like they write really long stuff. All right, let's go on. So eventually, she emigrated to the United States in 1885. She moved over to live with a sister, and she moved with another sister. And then the rest of their family joined after fleeing some anti-Semitism in Russia. They kind of played around with that. So
didn't she have to threaten to kill herself?
Yes, yeah. She really wanted to go to New York, and her fucking shithead dad was like, no. And so she threatened to throw herself in the river if he wouldn't let her go.
And so they let her go, and then they moved to New York.
And yeah, it's insane. Ugh, truly shithead of the year of 1885.
1885. It's like people nowadays, 2020, man. Back then, they were 1885's kicking my ass.
When she got to America, she worked as a seamstress in a factory. She'd worked as a seamstress in Russia as well. And she really hated the drudgery of it. And she bonded over that with a dude she met at the factory. And they got married. I don't even have his name here because they divorced in less than a year.
This is great. So is Jacob Kirshner. And I was also reading through kind of her shortened biography. And later on in the story, they mention him again. And I'm like, who's Kirshner?
I had to scroll all the way up. Who the fuck is this?
Same, yeah. Because he had dropped out of the story so long ago.
Yeah, I just forgot his name entirely. So yeah, her parents were like disappointed in her for getting divorced. They kicked her out. She had $5 in a sewing machine, and they were just like, bye. So yeah.
Damn.
Pretty harsh. It was around that time that I have a big question, because she was very upset over the Haymarket affair. And I want to know, what is it? Why was she upset about it?
Well, she was upset about it for pretty good reasons. It was one of our earlier examples of a police riot. It happened in May 4th, 1886 in Chicago.
Okay.
In a place called Haymarket Square. Like a public square sort of thing.
Yeah.
And since a few days before, May 1st, May Day, workers were on a general strike in support of the 8-hour workday.
Cool.
All right. So workers throughout Chicago, they were like, fuck this, we want an 8-hour workday. They were on strike.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, local companies were trying to get around that. You had the McCormick Harvesting Machine Company, a plant that made these harvesting machines. That plant was bringing in scabs.
I hate scabs.
To work in their in their factory while the strike was going on. They were there under the protection of 400 cops who helped them cross the picket lines because people were out there saying, fuck you, you guys are scabs, sort of thing. And at the end of the day, when they're letting these scabs out and trying to protect them from the workers who are yelling shit at them and stuff like that, the cops end up opening fire on the striking workers.
What the fuck? Wait, did the workers do anything besides yell?
No one knows really, but probably not.
I mean, not that that's
jerks.
Excuses it.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm sure you had,
they threw water bottles
and people saying they didn't. So yeah, they probably tapped on them or something.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So they opened fire on them, killed people, and people decided to go to a rally the next day. This is May 4th, the day it happens.
Okay.
People go to this rally. There are speakers involved, and it's a really peaceful rally. Mm-hmm. And then around at 10:30 at night, the cops showed up.
Oh, classic. This all sounds familiar.
Yeah. It's almost like this is the playbook.
Yeah.
Like this is, what they try to do. They form up in a line. They march on the crowd and order everyone to disperse. And then a bomb is thrown. There's a passive voice there because we don't know who threw the bomb.
Oof.
It lands between the crowd and the line of police.
Okay.
And it blows up, kills one of the cops, and wounds some other people and some of the crowd as well. To this day, we don't know who threw it. They interviewed this guy who some people had accused of throwing the bomb. Mm-hmm. And he said something like, here it goes. He said, if I had really thrown this bomb, then surely I would have nothing to be ashamed of. But in truth, I never once thought of it. So he was like, I don't blame whoever did it.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah. So anyway, basically no one knows who threw the bomb. And, the crowd took off running. The police opened fire on the protesters. Firing basically in the dark, just indiscriminately. The whole time their captain is trying to get them to stop firing because they're firing into each other, a lot of them.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of friendly fire.
Good moves.
An anonymous police officer told the Tribune, a very large number of the police were wounded by each other's revolvers. It was every man for himself, and while some got away, the rest emptied their revolvers mainly into each other.
Whoa. Good training, y'all.
Because they're just shooting in the dark. I mean, these guys, ultimately 7 cops end up dead, 60 were wounded.
Jesus.
Meanwhile, on the peaceful people's side, 4 workers were killed and 70 were estimated to have been wounded. Because, not everybody went to the doctor because, I got shot in a police riot is a good way to get, arrested. So
shit, really?
Yeah. I mean, that's why they didn't, seek medical attention. They figured the cops would go after them.
Oh, my gosh.
So that's what happened in the immediate, events. Included in this is kind of the aftermath where they put 8 anarchists up on trial for conspiracy to commit this bombing.
Fuck.
In the trial, they cannot prove that it's basically a show trial. They can't prove that any of these guys threw the bomb or anything. They have no idea who threw it. They're just like, you guys were involved because you guys are anarchists.
What the fuck?
Yeah. They sentenced one guy to 15 years in prison. The other 7 they sentenced to death.
Jesus.
The governor commuted 2 of the death sentences to life in prison, and one of the persons who was condemned to death killed himself in jail before going to the
Oh
gallows.
my God.
The rest of the ones who were condemned to death were hanged.
Oh God, we still did hanging then?
Yep.
I guess it's still, the 1800s. Jeez.
Yeah. A later governor ended up pardoning the people, I guess the 3 of them that remained that were in jail.
Yeah.
He pardoned them because it was bullshit. It was like they just put them on trial for
There's
being
no
anarchists.
evidence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, yeah, I'd be pissed about that too. That's fucked up.
Yep.
Shit, okay.
It was bad. That's the Haymarket Affair.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, she was pissed about that. It sounds like that was the right call to be pissed at that.
Yeah, a lot of people were.
Yeah, that seems very fucked up. Not surprising, but very fucked up. Okay.
Yeah.
So next she moved to New York City, and that's where she met her main man, Alexander Berkman.
Problematic faves.
Yeah, man, geez, a lot of problems with this dude. But right now they were just lovers. And fun fact, at one point they opened an ice cream shop together.
I read that. I want to go to that.
I know.
Anarchist ice cream shop.
Yeah.
Do you think they have cutesy names?
Oh, I hope so. They have syndicalist Ripple.
Yeah.
Hold on. We're gonna
Bomb brulee.
Oh yeah. What else? Oh, one more. I gotta round it out. Nihilist nut crunch. Not great. All right, we're still working on this concept. If anyone has any fun ice cream names for anarchists, send them our way. Anyway, she met this dude. She met this other dude too, Johann Most. So he was a speaker. He gave a lot of lectures and stuff and public speeches. And he was an advocate for propaganda of the deed, which brings me to my next vocab term that I would like a definition for, please.
Propaganda of the deed is political action that's supposed to inspire or spur on a revolution, be an example for people.
Okay.
Oftentimes, it's a violent action like assassinations.
Yeah, that seemed to be kind of the main thing.
Yeah, it is. It technically applies to whatever, but usually when people talk about propaganda of the deed, they mean killing some folks.
Shit.
Its opponents, for obvious reasons, say don't assassinate people. It's bad. Its proponents, though, I guess, to kind of offer the other side, say that basically, look, capitalist society is violent.
Mm-hmm.
Every law, every economic relationship, it's based on force. It is violence. So to stand by and let that happen to innocent people, let people suffer under that for any longer than you have to, that's a choice to commit violence in a way by letting that violence happen. So they're saying it's not really a question of whether or not you're going to do violence, but how can you do violence in a way that is going to get rid of the whole terrible system?
Okay, I can kind of see that. I'm too squeamish for that shit, but I get
it's kind of extreme, and I don't know if
extreme.
I really subscribe to that, but I guess I at least can appreciate where they're coming from.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm a baby, but I subscribe more to I agree. Yeah, capitalism is inherently violent, but I also don't take all the responsibility for that. So I don't know. Maybe I'm too nice or something, or maybe I'm being too nice to myself.
It's probably a combination. I mean, you're too nice in the sense you don't want to kill anybody.
Yeah, Def don't want to kill anyone.
And you're too nice to yourself in the sense of it's not on me to end it. That's how a propaganda of the deed person would say.
Yeah, I think there's a middle ground between going and fucking assassinating people and going and fucking being a monster capitalist,
Yeah, I definitely agree with that for sure. You don't see me assassinating people.
Come on. I told you to.
We don't hear about it anyway.
Ooh, sneaky.
No, I don't agree with it in general.
Yeah.
I just kind of found it interesting to see what their side of the story was.
I find it interesting because of shit that happens later. So stay tuned. Okay, so this Most guy, he kind of took her under his wing. He trained her up in public speaking, and she gave her first big speech, and it was really good. And she was, I don't know, there was a quote where she was talking about how she felt all of her personal experiences kind of well up in her, her failed marriage and having to work in this factory and, her shitty childhood of poverty, and just it really inspired her to speak out on anarchist viewpoints.
Yeah.
But eventually she kind of broke it off with her friendship with Most, not entirely, but she left his publication because he was a little too controlling, and she felt like she wanted to do her own thing.
Yeah, he was kind of a Sith, too. He said, "Who is not with me is against me."
I did not catch that. I would have loved to see. That's great. That is very Sith of him.
If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
We need to do another drinking watch. Without the listeners, we did a drinking game to Star Wars Episode 1.
And catastrophically, we added a rule that you had to drink every time there was a screen wipe transition.
Oh, it was so bad.
That was not a good one. Listeners, don't try that.
My stomach hurt.
That wasn't good.
Yeah, the other rules I think were fine, but that one, that's what did us in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to watch that. I want to drunk watch that and the Rugrats movie with you.
Oh, the Rugrats movie.
We loved that movie for some reason.
That was formative.
Okay, next. So I remember the ice cream shop. They moved to like Massachusetts for that shit, right? Or was it Pennsylvania?
No, Worcester, Massachusetts.
And they were all set up to do that, but then the Homestead plot happened. So do you want to give us a rundown of what that was?
Yeah. Homestead Strike's crazy. So this happens from July 1st through November 2nd, 1892.
Okay.
Homestead, Pennsylvania is where it happens.
That sounds like Whiteville, USA.
I don't know. It's racial conflict. It probably was pretty white.
It just sounds so like apple pie, you know?
Homestead,
Pennsylvania, USA.
Yeah. And workers there at Andrew Carnegie's Homestead Steel Works.
That motherfucking guy.
Yeah, he was, the Jeff Bezos of his day, basically.
He really was, yeah.
They were demanding wage increases.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Carnegie Steel was demanding wage cuts. And so Carnegie's own personal Darth Vader, Henry Clay Frick, he sends him in there, and he's like, deal with this shit. Carnegie outwardly tried to be a nice, responsible industrialist. He tried to be philanthropic.
Yeah, you hear a lot about his foundations, like Carnegie Hall. He's very into the arts.
And into libraries. He actually gave grants to all these different, all the county levels and everything to, build a library with his money. A ton of money he gave away. And he was outwardly, pro-union and all this. But he sent in Henry Clay Frick and said, break their union, get them back to work.
Shit. Okay.
And get them to work at a lower wage. So Frick goes in there, trying to negotiate a collective bargaining agreement with them. And when it doesn't work, when they won't agree to wage cuts is what that means. Then on June 29th, they locked him out of the plant. Yeah, Carnegie Steel locked him out of their plant and basically said, you guys can't work. Don't get paid until we get this fixed. The union involved was the Amalgamated Association of Iron and Steel Workers, and later on they get some help from the Knights of Labor.
That's a cool name.
It kind of is, yeah.
I want a t-shirt of that for sure with some gothic font.
Knights of Labor. Yeah. Meanwhile, the company started fortifying the plant with sniper towers, searchlights, a big barbed wire wall, and high-pressure water cannons that could spray boiling hot liquid from them.
Okay, this is some siege shit. Wait, who set this up?
The company.
The company. Not the union folks.
Not the union.
Carnegie, basically.
Carnegie Steel Company started barricading their plant in with all this stuff.
Shit.
And meanwhile, the striking workers started taking over the rest of the town of Homestead, setting up barricades and stuff and patrols to guard against scabs coming in and that sort of thing.
Ooh, okay.
Because what the company was doing was trying to fortify their place up so that they could then move in scabs and start working again and protect themselves from the striking workers. So basically a small-scale little pitched, siege war here.
A little war, yeah.
And sure enough, Frick tries to bring in, armed thugs from the Pinkerton Detective Agency, tries to bring them in by riverboat. The workers fight back and actually make the Pinkertons retreat.
So that's like private police, right?
Yeah, okay. Private police. And they don't make them retreat, actually. They make them surrender. The Pinkertons have to, throw down their arms, give up, and get paraded through the streets of Homestead while people are,
throwing shit at
cussing them out and spitting at them and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The Pinkertons in their, in this whole endeavor, they killed 7 workers and injured 11 of them. 8 Pinkertons on their hand were killed and 36 were injured. The governor ends up sending in the state militia, surrounding the plant with more than 4,000 troops, and then dispersing the strikers. So the plant starts running again with scab workers while the union keeps striking.
Do people usually pay scabs more?
No, usually they pay them what they were going to pay the workers.
Okay.
Usually. Sometimes I guess they might if they're desperate enough.
Yeah.
But if they're going to try to pay them less.
Yeah. This is crazy.
Yeah, no, this is insane. It was incredibly violent. And that's where we end up with our friend Berkman coming back into play.
Yeah. Wait, before we get to that,
Yeah.
I just want to think. So this motherfucker was like the Jeff Bezos of their time, right? Very, very rich.
Yeah.
Incredibly rich.
Mm-hmm.
All you had to do is pay these guys more. I mean, how much would it cost to like fucking arm your plant with water and fucking snipers and all this shit and hire private security? Like, wouldn't that be more expensive than paying your dudes more?
It is short term, but it's not long term. Long term, you have to pay these people more. Eventually, that adds up to what you paid all these, your private army and your castle.
Okay, okay.
You buy that for now, since you do have the money.
Yeah.
And then you save on all those wages later. And not just wages, but whatever else that union can muster up. Because at the end of the day, if you crush this union, you don't have to worry about it in the future at all.
Yeah. And you don't have to worry about, like, what if they want better health care, what if they want better whatever, better hours, all that shit.
It's like when we talked about in the union episode, when we were saying about those terrible law firms that help you prevent unions. That shit's expensive, but from their point of view, it's cheaper than having to give concessions and give people like a living wage and better health care.
It's insane. Oh my God. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, this is where Berkman and Goldman come in, our buds. So first off, this is a really fun fact I learned. Goldman tried to raise funds for their little plot through prostitution. Yeah,
this is kind of a movie situation.
Great story. She
heist.
She went out to the street trying to work the street. A guy buys her a beer and just says, "Yeah, don't do this." So,
you are no good at this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's really embarrassing. Oh, that's rough. Can you imagine? I thought she looks cute in her pictures, but maybe she just didn't have the swagger. I don't know.
She's got appeal. I just imagine she didn't have the type of appeal that people want in a prostitute.
Maybe.
Because, clearly later on, she's still hooking up with dudes.
Yeah, yeah. She has the mojo. Anyway, but the plot was, the reason she was raising funds was, I don't know why she had to raise funds for this. Maybe to buy the gun or whatever.
I think to buy the gun.
Oh, okay.
That's how I met. Or to buy the gun and get him over there.
Okay. So, yeah, the plot was to shoot this guy, Clay Frick.
Yeah. Who was a dick and did, he did suck. If there's somebody that needs to be shot. He was on the list, let's say.
Yeah, that guy did suck. But, again, I'm not big into assassination. But anyway. So, yeah, Berkman, he shot Frick 3 times and stabbed him in the leg. Somehow this guy did not die. I found that out. Don't know how he managed that.
Man of steel over here.
I guess. Or maybe he's just bad at shooting.
No, he shot him through the neck in one of the shots.
The neck?
One of the shots grazes his ears and knocks him down. And then he goes up and shoots him in the neck. So, I don't know how he messes that up.
Iron Man. Okay. And then, yeah, instead of, siding with him, the workers beat him up and...
Okay.
Oh, these workers were scabs, right?
Yeah, these are the scabs, and in the company offices, these are even going to be the scab managers.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, then for sure they beat him up.
Yeah, the article does say, the workers...
workers, yeah. Okay, yeah. So the scabs beat him up, and he was sent to prison for 22 years.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was not a good idea on his part. Yeah. This really undermined public support for the union. And everybody pretty much at that point supported the union. And they were like, in terms of what Carnegie and Frick were doing, they thought it was terrible. But this was like, whoa, now you're shooting people. Come on, don't do that.
Yeah, I thought this was interesting because I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about propaganda of the deed. Every time one of these things kind of materializes into a violent action, everyone's always really quick to be like, no, actually, no, we didn't actually want that. It's awkward. I don't know. I get it coming from just general leftists and communists, but even fellow anarchists and shit. Every time something like this happens, they'll be like, "No, that's not us." Yeah,
well, part of it is to avoid state repression, right? You don't want to be like, "Dude, cool," and then the cops come and haul you off.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and plus, you want to look respectable in case you're trying to convince people to join you or something.
Okay. That makes sense. I mean, I don't begrudge them because I'm also not pro-murder, but it's just interesting because, like, it's part of their philosophy and then they don't actually want to do it. It's weird.
Yeah. So it turns out not to be a good idea.
Seems like it.
The strike fails. The union has to go. They vote to go back to work on Carnegie's terms. They take the pay cut. The union ends up dissolving shortly thereafter.
Shit.
Just complete ultimate failure.
Yeah.
Probably, well, they might have lost without Berkman's help, but...
Definitely did not help.
Yeah.
Shit.
So not a good idea. Again, we're generally... I think our consensus here is against propaganda of the deed.
Yeah, I'm not pro-assassination.
Practically, in this sense, it also just didn't work. So
yeah. Sorry, NSA. You got to get me on something else.
Not sorry you got shot for it because you suck, but
yeah,
don't shoot people,
please
I guess.
Don't. Okay, back to our girl Goldman. She was suspected of involvement. I mean, kind of rightly so. She did try to raise money for it. She did get money from it from her sister. But they couldn't find any evidence. But they still convinced her landlord to evict her. That's pretty shitty.
What an asshole.
Yeah. And like we said, other anarchists kind of turned their backs on her, including her pal Most. They all condemned the assassination.
Most was talking about doing this, right? Like he was like, "Oh, you should go do this stuff," and then
for sure, he was like the main guy, just like he was Mr. Propaganda of the fucking deed. And then when it comes down to it, he got squeamish.
He's like, "No, never mind. Shouldn't have done that."
Yeah, very weird.
Asshole.
Side note that I have here: she was fucking 23 when this happened.
Wow.
She's a baby.
23. I hadn't assassinated anyone by the age of 23.
I have not.
Or helped anyone.
No, I didn't try to do prostitution to help with an assassination at 23. Man, I wasn't living, I guess.
She was precocious.
So next we get to the Panic of 1893, and I want to know, what was that?
The Panic of 1893, back before the Great Depression, we called economic depressions panics.
Okay.
So you have several panics of whatever the year.
We talked about panics kind of last episode, too, how that's kind of how markets are run.
Yeah, and this is a good example of it. It's from 1893 to 1897, and it's got several causes. I think the main one is capitalist speculation and overextension. All right, capitalists had really put too much of their money out there, were gambling too much, basically, and it all came back to bite them. Railroads were a big perpetrator of this. Railroad companies, the way this worked is that they could get land grants from the federal government along any of the railroads that they built. So they built a ton of railroads, even if they didn't really need railroad service there. And what you could do is take that land you were granted and sell it to people.
Or if there's oil on it or something, right?
Yeah, sell it to companies to drill on it or whatever, or mineral, like mining rights, whatever you want. So you could make a ton of money doing that. And, eventually, of course, enough people get into that market to where a lot of them end up failing because it turns out it's not that profitable to build railroads to nowhere.
Yeah, could have told you that.
So they start failing in droves. Their credit lines dry up. There's a financial panic about that. One of the big companies to go belly up is Philadelphia and Reading Railroad. When they go bankrupt, it's kind of like in 2008 when you had a few major investment banks and stuff
like AIG.
go under.
I remember that one.
Yeah, AIG, Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers. That the Wall Street people were like, "Oh, them,"
I remember AIG because I used to read American Girl magazine, and so I would get it mixed up because it's just like a big AG.
Yeah. American Girl.
Yeah. I was worried about my dolls.
They had been, American Girl was just overinvested in housing. So you had these companies going under, railroads especially. Everybody was too stretched too thin. Mm-hmm. And investors start selling their assets and buying gold because they're trying to get to safety, basically. Okay. They think gold's safer than money and stuff, Regular people try to get their money out of the banks all at once. It's called a bank run.
Hey, quick question. Is gold safer than money?
Usually not.
Okay.
I mean, in times of...
it's all made up, right?
Yeah. Money is all made up, I guess. But then again, gold is only valuable in as much as it's rare or that it can be used in electronics. It's like, or jewelry or whatever. It's not that. It's like any commodity. It does have a fluctuating value too. Generally, though, I guess money has been safer in some ways.
Okay.
In usual times.
Okay.
But anyway, people made a run on the banks, all trying to get their money out at once.
Okay.
This is before the days of like federal deposit insurance. So let's say everybody goes to get their money out of the bank. Well, this is when they find out that the bank lends their money out
The bank doesn't
actually
have
sit there. Yeah. So when the bank's out of money, they just close their doors and go home. And that's it.
This is like that scene in It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes, it is. And, people just lost all of their stuff because it was gone.
Jesus.
And that bank was gone. And that was it. Nowadays, if the bank fails, if the bank gets hit by a meteor or just, something else happens, or it turns out they stole all the money or whatever, up to a certain point, your money is still guaranteed by the federal government. But back then, no.
Was it also, did that happen in the Great Depression too? Was it not?
Yes.
Covered?
Yeah. So that was a thing that after the Depression in the New Deal, they fixed that.
Okay, good. They're like, oh, we can't do this anymore.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So, companies went belly up, people got fired in mass numbers, and economic depression. There it was.
Neat. All right. So during this depression, our girl Goldman began giving speeches, and she was advocating for direct action. I have a little quote here from a speech she gave in New York, which was, "Demonstrate before the palaces of the rich, demand work. If they do not give you work, demand bread. If they deny you both, take bread."
Take it.
Yeah,
Nice.
I loved it. So yeah, she kind of got in trouble for that. She got arrested for inciting to riot. So.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, you could have argued it was metaphorical bread.
Yeah, she didn't say do it.
She didn't say murder your bosses and steal from their dead corpses.
She didn't say not to, but,
But I don't say not to. Okay, anyway. Oh, this is great. So this detective that was on her case when he arrested her, he offered to drop the charges if she would rat out on other radicals, and she fucking threw her water in the dude's face like she's on a fucking soap opera.
She arranged her hand just so she could do it. And then
Yeah, they went pop, 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 like they do.
Yeah. That's awesome though.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to, don't be a snitch, basically.
Yeah.
Don't talk to the cops.
Be like Emma.
Emma Goldman understood this. Listeners, you guys should too. Don't talk to the cops.
Yeah, you don't have to, ever.
Yeah.
Just don't. Anyway, I also found this out. She was interviewed by Nellie Bly, who I've actually read a book about called 80 Days. And it was about a race between two women to go around the world and beat Jules Verne's story record. And she was one of the women there. Mm-hmm. She was super cool. If you want to look into another cool lady, Nellie Bly did some really groundbreaking journalism in those times. She checked herself into an asylum to figure out how their conditions were. And wow, those conditions were bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, she did a lot of really cool work. And she interviewed Goldman and called her in the article a modern day Joan of Arc.
Huh. Cool. Yeah. That's positive, I think.
Yeah. She had some pretty good press around then. So she got arrested, and the judge was not digging her, called her a, quote, dangerous woman, which if someone calls you that, you're doing something right. She got sentenced to 1 year in prison. And get this, while in prison decided, hey, I'm already a great speaker and whatever, I'm super fucking smart. Might as well study medicine while I'm here. So
yeah, why not?
So she studied medicine in prison, and after she got out, she went to Europe to study, I don't know in which order, but study anarchism, midwifery, and massage.
Man, I can't master any of those.
Yeah, what a wide variety of talents.
Got a passing familiarity with anarchism. That's all I've got.
Yeah. Well, maybe it comes in handy if you're delivering someone's baby for an anarchist, and maybe they're also stressed out about the delivery.
Yeah, no, the husband's stressed out about it, so you massage him, and then you come back over here, and and they're not anarchists yet, so you have to convince them to become anarchists.
Okay, got it. Yeah. It's a full service
Yep.
business. Anyway, yeah, this lady's crazy. I love her. Seriously, while researching her, I was like, oh, this bio just keeps going, huh? Okay. Next, we get to the McKinley assassination.
Yeah.
Leon Czolgosz, I looked up how to pronounce it. He assassinated President McKinley. And I want to know why he did that.
Okay. Czolgosz assassinated him because he felt a calling to do so.
Okay.
So Czolgosz was weird. He kind of had been a failure sort of in life. He became kind of a recluse. He started out as a as a worker, and then lost his job. I think there was a labor strike, and then he ends up losing his job, and so he goes to live with his family, and they like disagree about stuff, and he's kind of withdrawn.
Oh, he's had a tough time.
Yeah, it seems like he had a difficult.
Yeah, I read he might have had like a mental illness too.
Yeah, I don't know how much they know about that based on their time period. Anybody who was weird really was a candidate for that. But he ends up attending some of these anarchist speeches, and he hears Emma Goldman speak. And it's funny because he's like a weird guy. So when he does try to like make friends in anarchist circles, he ends up getting one of the radical papers puts out a warning about him.
Oh.
They don't really know his name because he just keeps giving him fake names.
Oh my God.
But, they describe him, and they're like, this guy, we think he's, an agent or a cop or something.
Jeez.
Just because he doesn't fit in, he's too weird.
Yeah, I read this that basically, he tried to be buddies with Goldman and her posse, and it didn't work. And that's just so sad.
Yeah. So he was kind of an outcast. He hears about the assassination of King Umberto I of Italy, who had been shot dead by an anarchist. And he's basically like, well, I've got, they rose up and killed their king, their ruler. I've got to rise up and kill our king, our ruler. So he decides he's going to kill McKinley.
So, I don't know shit about McKinley. Why bother? Was he cool? Was he bad?
Well, McKinley was an asshole.
Okay.
He kind of gets glossed over sometimes.
Yeah,
American history.
I know nothing about him except dude got shot. That's it.
Yeah, he's a one-termer because
of getting shot.
Survived to his next one. Yeah. He was an imperialist.
Oh, okay, that's not good.
He's the president who took us to war in the Spanish-American War.
Oh, yeah.
That's where we became the imperial dominators of Puerto Rico, Guam, the Philippines, and to a lesser extent, Cuba.
Oof.
He also annexed Hawaii. Interesting story about Hawaii.
Oh, God.
In 1893, we instigated a coup there to overthrow their government and replace it.
We should do an episode on that.
Yeah, there's kind of a lot of material there. We should.
Adding it to the list.
Yeah, we instigated a coup that replaced the government with one that wanted to be annexed by us.
All right, so strike two.
Yeah, he's the one who actually went through with annexing it. So total dick in terms of imperialism.
Yeah.
He was also a capitalist.
Strike three.
He was 100%, pro-business, 100% anti-union, 100%, pro-capitalist in general. Blah.
Yeah.
He let huge monopolies, they called them trusts back then, the big trusts. He let them get even bigger and more powerful. He was very laissez-faire sort of thing.
Oh, is this the Gilded Age?
He's at the tail end of that,
okay.
Yeah. He's the last president of the Gilded Age. And then when you get to Teddy Roosevelt, his vice president, he starts the progressive reforms.
Yeah, he's the buster.
Yeah.
Still imperialist, but...
Yep.
Okay. All right, so this guy kills McKinley.
And yeah, he walks up. He's got the gun under a napkin, a piece of cloth or something. He goes up to shake his hand or whatever, and blam, blam. This is back in the day, man.
You could just walk
McKinley
up.
could go walking around without protection or anything.
That's insane.
It's after his assassination that they charged the Secret Service with protecting the president.
Yeah, kind of some hindsight there.
Yeah, they'd had 3 of them killed, so by that point, all right, 3's enough.
Yeah, come on, guys. We got to get it together. Okay. Wait, who's the first one? I mean, I know Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Oh, I thought he was the second.
And then James Garfield is shot in 1881, maybe?
Does he live?
No, he gets killed.
Oh, okay. I got to study that placemat. Listeners, we had a placemat of all the presidents, and they would have little asterisks if they had been assassinated or impeached.
Yeah. I blame it for my career choice. My going into history is that placemat.
Yeah.
It can all be traced back to there.
Makes sense.
Yeah, no, James Garfield was killed in 1881. Someone who he had promised a job to, basically, and didn't get a political appointment, came up and shot him.
Okay. Shit.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, this guy kills him. They end up arresting a bunch of anarchists, Emma Goldman included, because, what's his name? Chagas claimed he was inspired after attending one of Goldman's speeches. Mm-hmm. He kind of backtracked this later and said he denied her involvement. But, of course, they still interrogated the shit out of her and the other anarchists there. But then she was released.
Yeah. Subjecting them to the 3rd degree.
Yeah. So, not a pleasant time, I imagine.
Yeah, no, that's torture.
Yeah. I thought third degree was just like intense interrogation, but yeah, that apparently it's just straight up torture.
Yeah.
Okay. Chalgaz was executed. What's weird about it is that she kind of ends up defending him some, and like all the other anarchists were like, again, like, hey, we don't want to play that game. So she kind of got some flack for it.
I thought her defenses of him were kind of interesting. She says something like, who can tell, talking about Chalgaz, saying, who can tell how many times this American child has gloried in the celebration of the 4th of July, or on Decoration Day when he faithfully honored the nation's dead? Who knows but what he too was willing to fight for his country and die for her liberty until it dawned on him that those he belonged to have no country because they've been robbed of all that they have produced. Until he saw that all the liberty and independence of his youthful dreams are but a farce. Perhaps he also learned that it is nonsense to talk of equality between those who have all and those who have nothing, hence he rebelled. She kind of tried to make a class argument out of it.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if it justifies shooting somebody, but I think her defenses weren't necessarily like, good, I'm glad he got shot, but like, maybe this guy had, his own reasons too, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
More of an explanation. I don't know of a justification, but.
Yeah. But she definitely still took some heat for it.
Yeah. And understandably so. It's kind of a problematic stance.
For sure. Yeah. it's not my fave. All right. So she goes on. She continues her political activism, but then a new law comes on the scene, and I want to know about it. It's called the Anarchist Exclusion Act.
The Anarchist Exclusion Act, also called the Immigration Act of 1903.
I think, yeah, that's how I learned it.
It added 4 inadmissible classes of immigrants.
Let's hear them.
These types of immigrants you can't let in.
Let's hear it.
Anarchists.
That's not good.
People with epilepsy.
What the fuck?
Yeah, assholes. Who does that?
Yeah. That's very specific, too.
Beggars.
Okay, that sucks.
And a category entitled importers of prostitutes.
Okay, so not prostitutes themselves?
No, importers of prostitutes.
Okay, that'd be like sex traffickers.
Traffickers, I guess?
That's fine, I guess. Let the prostitutes in, though.
So yeah, that was the Immigration Act of 1903. They eventually update that in 1918 because they don't really deport. I think they deport or refuse admittals like 5 people under the initial law because it's so poorly defined.
Yeah.
So 1918, they better define it
good.
that they can define undesirable aliens like anarchists, communists, and labor organizers.
Okay, that's pretty shitty. Which brings us to kind of her involvement, which she collaborated with the Free Speech League to fight a case against the arrest of someone who was, I guess, detained under this, which was the anarchist John Turner.
Oh, yeah. He's one of the few.
that they got.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it makes sense. Under free speech grounds, this law makes no fucking sense.
But the idea was that since it was applying to aliens, you could do it because they're not really American citizens.
It's fucked up.
Yep.
All right. So she also started a radical magazine called Mother Earth. And in it, she wrote about anarchism, politics, labor issues, atheism, sexuality, and feminism. So, like, pretty much all my favorite things.
Yeah.
All right. It was around this time that her main man, Berkman, got out of prison. This is where he starts becoming problematic because he got pretty fucked up while he's in prison. Like, I think he just, like, mentally had a lot of issues. But this does not excuse the fact that he dated a fucking 15-year-old. So that sucks.
Yeah, that's, no, don't do that.
Please don't. Unless you are 15. Anyway, so he kind of helped her run the magazine while she traveled and gave lectures. So yeah, it was around this time that she met another dude who became her bud, her man friend, Reitman, Dr. Reitman. And they kind of hung out and...
Did you read any about Reitman?
I didn't. I read that he was called the Hobo Doctor, which is a cool nickname.
That's what I read too. He apparently was previously like a unemployed person.
A drifter.
A drifter and a hobo. And then became a doctor and then went around treating the poor.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
This guy was also into free love, so they tried that. She really didn't do it. It was more his thing, but whatever.
He just kind of wanted to...
I think he just wanted to fuck other people.
Yeah. But then she didn't?
Yeah, that's what it says. That she didn't really dabble too much. I mean, she still liked Berkman, so I guess she kind of did.
Okay.
I mean, whatever floats your boat.
I guess I get that. Okay.
Anyway, so she kept lecturing and stuff. She also got involved with Margaret Sanger, who you might know as the founder of Planned Parenthood, who is another problematic faith.
Yeah, she had some eugenic stuff.
She definitely did. So we really got to distance ourselves from that lady. You know, yay, birth control, boo, racism.
Yeah, that's a good stance.
It should not be controversial.
Nope.
But yeah, no, Goldman was a supporter of the birth control part, at least. And Goldman was even arrested for giving public lessons on contraception and again for giving a lecture on it. And they sentenced her to 2 weeks in a prison workhouse because she refused to pay the fine. And she was like, that's cool. I get to hang out with these people. I'm sure she talked to them about birth control too. So yeah.
Nice. Man, that's stupid. So she just couldn't tell people about birth control. That was
there was a law. Let me find what it's called. The Comstock Law, which prohibits the dissemination of obscene, lewd, or lascivious articles. Yeah, I think that also includes like you can't mail birth control. I know Margaret Sanger got in trouble for that a lot. I
think all that stuff is gone now, but those Comstock laws were really stupid. They were like, I mean, they had state versions of them too. I was reading about this guy because Goldman talks about him in her essay collection, Anthony Comstock.
Mm-hmm.
And
what's his deal?
He's apparently just an idiot.
Okay.
His Wikipedia article describes him as an anti-vice activist.
Okay, so a fucking square.
A fucking square dedicated to upholding Victorian morality.
Ugh.
He, opposed obscene literature, abortion, contraception, gambling, prostitution,
drinking?
Anything that people liked, he didn't like.
Was he against drinking? I feel like that would be in there.
Well, probably. He probably was against drink. Okay, this is how square this guy was. When he signed up to fight in the Civil War for the Union, at least he did that.
Low bar.
It says he served without incident, but objected to the profanity used by his fellow soldiers.
Oh my God, what a fucking nerd. I hope he got beat up.
Guys, don't swear. Don't swear, guys.
Guys, I know we're murdering people and stuff, but please don't swear. Well, you're murdering racists at least, but still, you should be able to call them, obscene names while you murder them.
Yeah, you should be swearing a lot.
Yeah.
But, what an idiot. Anyway, that's the only good thing he did in his life was fighting the Civil War.
Yeah.
Probably.
Oh man, what a loser.
Yeah.
All right. This brings us to World War I.
Not a good war.
Yeah, one of my least favorites. And one of Goldman's least favorites too, because she opposed it and founded the No Conscription League of New York.
I like that league.
Yeah, I'm into it. There's a quote from her. We oppose conscription because we are internationalists, anti-militarists, and opposed to all wars waged by capitalistic governments. I see you giving that thumbs up.
Yes, I am also all of these things.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, who you fighting these wars for? It's for people's money.
Yep.
What was weird though about this, I guess the theme of this episode is no fake friends because a bunch of other leftists ditched. The Socialist Party of America, the Women's Peace Party, after war was declared, I guess they didn't care about that peace part so much.
Yeah, this is something that anarchists and that dedicated communists in multiple instances hold against socialists, is that when war breaks out, this happened in World War I, World War II, whatever, the soft social democrats and democratic socialists, those parties tend to go ahead and side with their country and say, we're going to support this. They used to.
They have some nationalist
tendencies
sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you think about FDR, definitely. Yes, great, I'm going to say Green New Deal, I wish. Fucking New Deal. But also big war. So.
Yeah. So that's something they kind of hold against them. I don't think social democratic parties do that as often now, but that's still a critique that's there.
Yeah. I will admit, I am not as well versed in foreign policy. I'm I don't know, but I'm against the war. I know.
Yeah. I mean, hey, that's a good starting point.
Yeah.
I mean, be against war, be for oppressed people,
Yeah.
That's foreign policy.
All right. She, naturally got in trouble for this, as she's wont to do. The offices for this No Conscription League, they were raided, and a bunch of anarchist materials were seized. Shocker.
How did that get here?
Yeah, this isn't mine. I love this anecdote. According to the New York Times, during this, I guess, arrest or raid, Goldman was asked to change into more appropriate clothes, and she came out wearing a royal purple ball gown.
Dope.
What a queen. They asked her, like, excuse me, can you go change clothes? And then, yeah, she brought out a fucking gown. Classy.
That's awesome.
So yeah, she was charged under the Espionage Act for conspiracy to induce persons not to register. I don't super know what the Espionage Act is. Did you?
The Espionage Act was some bullshit.
Okay.
It was passed in 1917. It tried to prevent people from speaking out against military recruitment or conscription or anything. It was ruled in 1919. The Supreme Court said in Schenck versus the United States that the act, get this, did not violate the freedom of speech.
What the fuck?
So, yeah, they said that was fine.
Okay. Apparently some speech is fine to restrict. Cool.
The most controversial sections of it were repealed in 1921. But from my understanding, they still use this shit.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, this is one of the laws that they used on Chelsea Manning for the leaks that she put out. They charged Edward Snowden under this, Reality Winner under this. Anybody who's basically leaking national security secrets or anything, or getting this out to the press, they still use the Espionage Act to go after them.
Oh, okay. Not a good one.
So yeah, it's bullshit. It should be repealed.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
Yeah, I don't like it. Yeah, so talking about foreign policy, I thought she had a pretty good quote whenever she was in court over this, and it says, "We say that if America has entered the war to make the world safe for democracy, she must first make democracy safe in America.
Yes.
How else is the world to take America seriously when democracy at home is daily being outraged, free speech suppressed, peaceable assemblies broken up by overbearing and brutal gangsters in uniform?
Heck yeah.
When free press is curtailed and every independent opinion gagged. Verily, poor as we are in democracy, how can we give of it to the world?" Burn. Ooh. You burnt.
Yeah, she drops the mic.
Yeah.
At that point. Jeez. For real, though.
Yeah. Good fucking point, Emma. Didn't work out, though. She did get sentenced to 2 years in prison. So, cool speech. But hey, while she was in prison, she worked with fellow socialists Kate Richards O'Hare and Gabriela Segata Antolini to advocate for better prison conditions. They became known as the Trinity, which that's a pretty cool nickname.
Yeah. So they were like self-advocating for the prison about the prison conditions there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
It is cool.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm into that. So she eventually got out of prison and just in time to get deported.
Ooh. She's one of the ones that gets rounded up in the Palmer raids, right?
I didn't read about the Palmer raids. I read about the Red Scare. Is it the same thing?
Yeah. Okay, so it's around that time that A. Mitchell Palmer and the FBI, or the Department of Justice, rather, they do all these raids across the country on anarchists and labor activists and stuff. And I think Goldman's one of the ones that's included in this. That's how she gets swept up and deported, is through these raids.
Shit.
It's part of the Red Scare. It's when that was really kicking off.
Yeah, so they ended up using that Anarchist Exclusion Act and the expanded version to deport people. Emma Goldman and Alexander Berkman were both deported. They were called two of the most dangerous anarchists in this country. So, again, pretty cool title.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. She refused to answer anything at her hearing because she was like, I'm a fucking citizen, so, like, you can't do this. And then, yeah, it turns out that because that guy that she married for less than a year...
Way back, listeners. Yeah. Rewind and go back to that part of the story where he was still in it.
Yeah. Apparently, he had revoked his citizenship, which meant it also revoked hers, which is, like, not how I thought citizenship worked.
Everything was just so rough and tumble back then. They were making it up as whatever worked for them, you know?
Yeah, that was pretty nuts. So, yeah, she went to Russia.
She got deported on the Soviet Ark, is what they called it.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
And the American press, a lot of them were happy about this. The Cleveland Plain Dealer wrote, "It is hoped and expected that other vessels, larger, more commodious, carrying similar cargoes, will follow in her wake." They were like, deport the bastards.
That's very shitty.
Yeah.
So she got to Russia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, our girl is an anarchist.
Yeah.
Russia, this is, 1920. They're straight up. They're in the Soviet Union now. They did it.
Well, they're still technically in the
Civil War.
Yeah, they're in the Civil War still.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah,
Soviet Russia.
Soviet Union,
okay.
you know.
So yeah, at first she was like very into this. She was like excited about the Bolsheviks and stuff.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been excited about it. But as she kind of saw what they were actually going through, she became more and more dissatisfied. Some of the reasons included, I mean, the Russian Civil War, bad time to be there, for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Not a fan. There's also a lot of repression of free speech. In fact, she overheard a party official referring to free speech as, quote, bourgeois superstition. So, not good.
Yeah, as far as a Marxist-Leninist perspective, in the situation they were in, I mean, yeah, that's how they would see it. How we're always like, well, yeah, but what about free? They would say the same thing. That would be their criticism of us would be, yeah, you guys are being liberal about that. Like, free speech.
We're too obsessed with it.
You guys are too obsessed with it. It doesn't apply in all situations because what's more important is protecting the revolution. That's what they would say. I think that free speech should still be protected.
Yeah, me too.
But I think also she admits that she just doesn't like the state, right? She says,
yeah.
I can never in my life work within the confines of the state, Bolshevist or otherwise. She's
just not into it.
Doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah. She also sees like there's some really bad conditions for workers. There's mismanagement. There's corruption. She and Berkman actually met with Lenin, who made a pretty bad impression because he said that there can be no free speech in a revolutionary period. That was his quote. So that's
would be his defensive
totally
base,
his
right?
defense.
He's saying, well, look, hey, we got to do what we got to do, and then we can give you some free speech.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like on one level, I kind of get it, but it's like who's going to hold them responsible for the free speech afterwards? They shouldn't be allowed to give that. That shouldn't be something you bestow on someone.
Well, I don't know. They would argue that they are the people, so they wouldn't really be bestowing it. Mm-hmm. It would be the people saying, we're going to have free speech now, or we're not going to have free speech. That's what they would say. But you're right. Are they actually going to do that afterward?
Sounds like
the answer was no until never.
Until never. Yeah, they never did that.
No.
That sucks. And in fact, it got much worse.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So there was a big worker strike in 1921. Which Goldman and Berkman supported, didn't turn out well.
The Kronstadt Rebellion.
Yeah. You want to tell me about that?
So the Kronstadt Rebellion is some sailors out in Kronstadt. It was kind of like an anarchist sort of uprising, a mutiny. They kind of rebelled against the Bolshevik government demanding reforms like new workers' councils or Soviets, allowing more parties, more kind of democracy, less Bolsheviks being in charge of everything, and more kind of local freedoms. And it gets crushed. The Bolsheviks are like, no, fuck you. Don't do that.
Yeah, it didn't turn out so hot. 1,000 killed, 2,000 arrested, and more executions later. So. Yep.
That's Kronstadt.
Not a great result.
Not for Kronstadt.
Yeah. Another result would be that Goldman and Berkman left Russia. They were like, this ain't our game.
Where did they go?
They bounced around Europe a bit. They ended up in Berlin for a while. They didn't really fit in with the leftists there. Because they had been in Russia and seen some bad shit, they were now more, anti-Russia. And the communists there were like, fuck you. But they were too radical for liberals, so.
Don't talk shit about my fave.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
But she had done, didn't she?
What, talk shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, she wrote a whole book about it called My Disillusionment in Russia.
Wow, that's not a great title.
So actually, the title was kind of forced on her by her publisher. She fought against it, but they were like, no, this is more juicy. So she was pissed about it.
Okay, that's fair. It
was originally a series of essays for the New York World, but it got collected into a book. And yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll give her a pass on that then. I was like, come on, man. That's pretty bad. That's pretty mean.
That is pretty harsh. So yeah, so it didn't make her too popular with communists. And this kind of followed her around for the rest of her life. Is just communists shitting on her for not being friends with Russia. Anyway, she kind of bounced around Europe for a while, had some issues with like citizenship. So she ended up marrying some dude for, citizenship, some Scottish anarchist, James Colton. So that's nice.
Cool dude.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
She also got upset about another event, which I wanted to ask about, which is the executions of Nicola Sacco and Bartolomeo Vanzetti. Who are they? Why did they get executed?
Sacco and Vanzetti. They were innocent and they were unfairly executed. Everyone is unfairly executed because executions are bullshit. But Sacco and Vanzetti, they were two Italian immigrants to the United States. They were wrongfully accused of a murder during an armed robbery in Massachusetts on April 15th, 1920. They didn't do it, but they got hauled off for it just because, poor descriptions and stuff. And they were like, oh, it was an Italian guy, or, it was two Italian guys. And they got swept up for it. Pretty much with almost complete certainty, people agree.
It was not them.
Yeah, they probably didn't do it.
Shit, that sucks.
The jury convicted them because of anti-immigrant, anti-Italian, anti-anarchist bigotry.
That sucks.
The judge in this case, a lousy motherfucker named Webster Thayer.
Sounds like a nerd.
He was openly and vehemently anti-anarchist. He told a lawyer friend after the trial, "Did you see what I did to those anarchistic bastards the other day?
Woof.
I guess that will hold them for a while. Let them go and see now what they can get out of the Supreme Court."
Woof.
So he bragged about, rigging this trial against them.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah, he denied all their motions for a new trial. The innocent Sacco and Vanzetti's appeals to higher courts also failed. Ultimately, Judge Thayer sentenced Sacco and Vanzetti to death by the electric chair.
Fuck.
They were unjustly executed on August 23rd, 1927 for being Italian immigrant anarchists.
What the fuck? Yeah, I'd be pissed about that too.
Yeah, on a positive note, Judge Thayer got his home blown up by a bomb 5 years later and had to live the last year of his life guarded around the clock by cops.
Oh, okay. That's good. You deserve that.
Guess, it's a positive. Nobody got killed in the bomb, so it's not.
Yeah, he just destroyed his house. It's fine.
Yeah.
He doesn't deserve a house.
Yeah. So that was Sacco and Vanzetti.
All right.
It was like what they call a cause celeb, It was super popular. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, can you believe this?
Yeah.
It was all over the place. Celebrities were saying this is crazy,
So fucked up.
Writing songs about it. Woody Guthrie wrote a song about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it a good tune?
It is, yeah.
All right.
It's good.
Cool. All right. So yeah, she was pissed about that. Once again, rightly pissed.
Yeah.
She wrote her autobiography at this point. She wanted it to be available at an affordable price and was pissed when her publisher didn't do that.
How much was it?
She wanted it to be like $5 and they made it $7 for like a box set or whatever, and she was pissed about it.
Shit, that's almost like double though. Or increased by half, rather.
Yeah. You want to know the title?
Her title? Yeah, sure.
Living My Life.
Damn.
Yeah, Goldman had a lot of good texts. This was not a good one. Not the most creative title for autobiography. Not great. Anyway, it's fine. I'm sure she had some dope shit in there for sure. She's not even fucking done. There's still more.
Whoa, okay, yeah.
Next, Spanish Civil War. She joined up with some Spanish anarchists in 1936. Here we go, gotta break out my accent. Confederación Nacional de Trabajo and Federación Anarquista Ibérica.
Nice. CNTFAI.
Yes. And she lived in revolutionary Catalonia for a while with them.
Awesome.
Tell me about all this, because you can give me a summary.
Yeah. So, Spanish Civil War, big picture, it starts with some right-wing assholes called the Nationalists trying to do a coup against the government, the center-left government.
Okay.
On July 17th, 1936, they try to do this. They don't take over the whole country, and so, civil war. Mm-hmm. The Republicans, that's what you call the government, plus, some various leftist supporters like the CNTFAI guys, which is like a labor union, and other groups. And they're supported by the Soviet Union, Mexico, and foreign volunteers.
Cool.
That's the Republican side. Kind of the better guys of this side.
Yeah.
On the other side, you got the Nationalists, various right-wing rebel groups supported by Italy, Germany, both fascists, by the way, Portugal, and foreign volunteers.
Not a good time to be supported by them.
Yeah, they were basically fascists.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Nationalists were. And, ultimately they end up winning the war April 1st, 1939.
The fascists do?
Yeah, the fascists. The Nationalists. Alongside this, there's an event going on called the Spanish Revolution.
Okay.
Which is more of like a social revolution.
Okay.
Which is where you get revolutionary Catalonia from. Because it's mainly centered there. A few other regions somewhat. But this is where the people end up taking direct control of their society and their economy. So workers' committees are in control of, workplaces, farmers collectivize and run as communes. You end up kind of with this democracy going on, especially in Catalonia.
This sounds dope as hell.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Yeah. It's obviously in the middle of a civil war, so it's also the whole process, not just that, but life is violent. Mm-hmm. So it's not without its problems, but it's a cool social idea there. And the crazy thing about the Spanish Civil War is how many fucking acronyms there are. You mentioned a couple of them already.
CNT and FAI.
Yeah, so those are they're technically separate groups, but they're almost
like
within each other and partners. Yeah, they're both
they're buds.
Anarcho-syndicalist labor unions.
Yeah, let's review what that is, because I kind of forgot.
So anarcho-syndicalism is the idea, obviously opposition to the state. That's the anarcho part. Mm-hmm. They were in favor of worker control of the means of production, like socialism, but they want to achieve it through labor unions. So they're opposed to like political parties or central government, that sort of like political process. They see the general strike as the workers' like best tactic to use to get power. They want to replace the state with like voluntary federations of unions. Remember we talked about this when we were talking about anarcho-syndicalists, that like your labor union, you would vote for representatives, and you'd have like kind of a Congress made up of different labor union people. And basically they see unions as as the vehicle for our future post-capitalist society.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So in Catalonia, where she was, which is where Barcelona is, for example, you had the CNT, the FAI. You also had the UGT, the Unión General de Trabajadores, who were kind of a socialist labor union. You also had some political parties there, too, that were influential in Catalonia. You had the POUM.
Okay.
I don't know if they would have said the POUM, but
maybe.
That's what it spells. The Partido Obrero de Unificación Marxista.
Okay.
So
Marxist?
The Workers' Party of Marxist Unification. And they were Trotskyist.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they had split previously from the main Communist Party to form kind of a Trotskyist.
Okay.
And then in Catalonia, you also had the PSUC, which I've been calling the PSUC because they kind of do suck. The Partit Socialista Unificat de Catalunya.
Okay.
I don't know how to say that properly because it's actually Catalan rather than Spanish.
Yeah.
It was the local branch of the PCE, the Partido Comunista de España, the Communist Party of Spain.
Yeah.
These were the Marxist-Leninists.
Yes.
Also called the Stalinists.
Yeah. I read that it didn't turn out great it turned out good for these folks, bad for our folks. Yeah. Our folks being Emma's folks.
Yep, Emma's folks. It doesn't turn out well for them.
Okay.
Do you want to tell more about her time there?
Before we get to that. Yeah. She was hanging out with them. She edited their paper, like their bulletin. She gave lectures and interviews and was even like a representative for them, like a delegate.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And I really liked this quote because I think it kind of reconciles that notion of anarchy as just, shitty or something, or like too punk. She has a quote: "Your revolution will destroy forever the notion that anarchism stands for chaos."
Yeah.
And I love that. I think that's what's needed for this ideology.
Yeah. Because capitalists always do that, right? Or liberals or whatever. They're like, you don't want anarchy as just like an understood, as a given. Everybody doesn't want anarchy, right?
Yeah.
Because it's crazy. People go and murder and it's like Mad Max or something. That's anarchy, right?
Yeah.
In these people's idea.
Yeah. And this little, really, it sounds like a very, besides the whole war part, sounds pretty cool. Society kind of disproves that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. We've mentioned this before, that oftentimes when these true anarcho-communist spaces pop up, it is in the midst of a war or, some really intense circumstances. So
yeah,
I say we do one.
Wouldn't be bad.
Anyway, so CNT and FII, unfortunately, they started kind of join up with the communists, and Emma Goldman was concerned that this was not great because she still felt pretty burned from her experience in Russia. And she was like, man, Stalin's in charge of the communists. I don't want to be friends with Stalin, which is like fair. Mm-hmm. And eventually the communists broke up the anarchist collectives. There were riots, and it was kind of vague on what happened there. So do you have more info on that?
I do, yeah. So in the very beginning of even before the coup and therefore the Civil War, the CNT-FAI was part of they supported the Popular Front, which was like all the leftist parties teaming up to win the election in 1936.
Okay.
And then when they win, but they take power, things kind of get a little crazy, and then civil war.
Okay.
But anyway, they had been kind of supportive of the government before that, but they weren't really part of it. But that's when Emma Goldman's like, hey, why did you guys join up with them? Because that's when they join officially with the coalition, with the government. What happens then, though, is that remember, the Soviet Union is helping Spain at this time, too.
Yeah.
And this whole thing comes about as just another purge from our good old buddy, Papa Stalin.
Fucking Stalin.
Not content with doing purges in the Soviet Union, he also had to do them here.
What a shithead.
So the Soviet Union was helping out Spain, and that was crucial. Their help was crucial to the Republicans.
Yes.
War
vaguely
effort.
left side.
Yes. In terms of weapons, supplies, military advisors, the international brigades, which is where a lot of the volunteers came in. All that was set up by and run by the Soviet Union. They relied on that, and so they kind of had to keep Stalin happy. And so when he comes around saying, "I'd like a purge, please,"
oh no,
they kind of have to do it. So by May 1937, Stalin was tired of having these rival communist and anarchist groups in the Republican coalition, and he wanted to control that. He wanted the Communist Party of Spain, which was, the one that he was giving orders to. He wanted them to be the ones in charge of the Republican side completely.
That sucks. Okay. So you basically blackmail them, kind of.
Well, yeah, kind of, yeah.
Blackmail is the word. Quid pro quo.
Yeah, you want our support, do this. So he had the PSUC, the Stalinists in Catalonia. He had them team up with the national government, so the Republican government, and the Catalonian official government, which at the time really wasn't doing anything because the CNT-FAI ruled everything.
Okay,
they were governing themselves,
Yeah.
So the state government's like, come on, we want to do something again. They team up with the national government and the Stalinists to violently take control back in Barcelona and the Catalonian region altogether. It's called the May Days, and it's from May 3rd to May 8th in 1937, and it's like street battles and stuff.
Okay.
Lots of people die. I think it's eventually around 1,000 people are killed, and they're able to successfully take back control for the central government and for the state government, and the communists start to repress the labor unions, so the CNT and the FAI, and they start to repress the POUM, the Trotskyists. Yeah. These propaganda, arrests, tortures, and assassinations.
Yeah, I read that there was very shitty reporting on this, I guess.
All this ended up really being reported to the outside was the Republicans are doing some infighting, bad stuff. Looks like Franco's going to exploit this for his gain.
Yeah,
nationalists will do better now. Oof. But they didn't really get into the whys or what was really going on.
Yeah, who's
it's just
behind it?
Infighting.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. But this was, this crippled the anarchists. Pretty much completely did in the Trotskyists. They were kind of purged from the whole thing.
That sucks.
And the anarchists still kind of technically remain a part of the Republican side, but they're weakened and they're not as into it now because
why would they be?
Yeah, these guys are like, no, you're doing it our way.
Yeah. So they don't really have a say. That sucks.
Yeah. And, a couple years later, the nationalists win and wipe them all up anyway, so.
Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
If you want a happy story, the Spanish Civil War is not it.
No, definitely not. So Goldman gets out of there. She goes back to Canada. She had been there at some point. I don't even know if I mentioned that. She moves around a lot. So yeah, her later years, she kind of spent opposing World War II. Consistent, our girl does not like war. Even though, she writes that she fucking hates Hitler and Mussolini, Stalin, and Franco, obviously. Good take.
Good. I hate them too. Yeah.
She writes, I would not support a war against them and for the democracies which, in the last analysis, are only fascist in disguise.
Oh, damn.
Pretty good burn. I think the point, maybe, of this quote is not so much fascists are cool, obviously. It's that in the process of fighting fascists, be very aware of what the results are, because I think we can agree the results of World War II weren't just, hey, we beat the Nazis, good job. It was also, hey, let's continue our imperialism. So,
yeah. And for sure she was principled about it. Like you said, she did support CNT-FAI, which were anarchists, anarcho-syndicalists, they were true to what her ideals were, and she fully supported them in fighting fascists in Spain.
Yeah.
She would be in favor of supporting anarchist opposition to German fascism, Italian fascism, and all that. Just not maybe, if there were like anarchist volunteers, I guess, from America going to fight, I guess she would be in favor of that, maybe.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm choosing to interpret it more as keep your head on a swivel. Like, yeah, fight fascists, but also check out your own side for fascists too.
Fair enough.
All right, so now we're getting to the end of her story. She ends up having a stroke, and seems like she's getting better, but then she has another one, and she dies at age 70 I believe, in Canada.
Yeah, Toronto.
So that's our girl's, I guess, main story. But is there anything I didn't cover? Because this lady wrote about a lot of shit. She spoke about a lot of shit. Is there anything you feel like we need to touch on?
So philosophically, some points, I guess I'll bring up some points that I thought she made really well.
Yeah, give me some quotes.
Because I was diving into her collection of essays that she wrote that we mentioned, Anarchism and Other Essays.
Okay.
Ever the title smith.
Yeah, right. She doesn't really pay attention to that shit. She's too busy. She was studying medicine and massage, okay?
And midwifery.
She did not study making titles.
So some points I thought that she had that she made that were really good. As we talked in general about her anarchist philosophy and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And one of her critiques of like the masses. The first essay that I was reading about, she was very against the masses.
Interesting.
She presented this as like contrasting to her individualism was the masses. And she said basically the masses are dumb and they just go along with things. And I was like, come on, man. What the hell? Yeah. But then she kind of gave an interesting statement that I thought was kind of cleared it up for me, was her point that the majority or the masses kind of give tacit approval to capitalism doing what it does by not doing anything about it. So her complaint is like all these people that are just like going along with whatever because, their life is okay or they don't know what to do. Like she thought that was like, that proved that they, you shouldn't just listen to the wisdom of majorities because they seem right now, at least in her time and in ours, to be willing to go along with our current system.
Okay.
She's like, that's bullshit. So why would you listen to that?
Okay.
And I was like, that's an interesting point. I tend to think of things as like, mass democracy.
Yeah,
Let's do things, in numbers.
What do people want?
I guess she does have a point that most people aren't, revolutionary communists or something. So why should we listen to the masses?
Interesting. I mean, I guess my question then would be like, how do you get to that then? Do you just have to convince everyone one by one or just like ignore them? Because then you get into the whole repression of free speech thing. It's messy.
Yeah, I think she would be for convincing people.
Yeah, I mean, she did give a lot of speeches.
What else? She had a great quote about cops.
Tell me.
She was talking about the Haymarket affair here.
Okay.
And she said, the police are not concerned with logic or justice. What they seek is a target to mask their absolute ignorance of the cause of the psychology of a political act.
Oh.
And this was part of a larger argument she made about political violence, assassination or riots or whatever. And I thought it was kind of timely because of, people complaining about rioting or whatever now. And complaining about,
you burned a car.
The unrest. And we got to send in the secret police.
Jesus, yeah. Throw you in an unmarked van.
Yeah, well, she was saying, look, this violence and stuff, it's kind of a natural phenomenon. It's got concrete causes that are there that you can, you can see and say, well, people are economically deprived. They're oppressed. They're going to react in some way. It's not that they're just, that they're evil or something like this. And the police don't want to try to find what those causes are.
Yeah.
They want to, bust heads and stuff and put people in jail because they don't know, and they don't care to know and they don't want to know what actually causes the acts of violence.
Yeah, there's so many parallels with what's going on today. You see so many arguments like, why are we rioting? Why are there, why does there have to be violence in these protests? And it's like, man, you should be more mad about the initial violence that sparked these protests. Like, come on.
Yeah, and she did a good job of tying that in one of the essays with increasing militarism before World War I, where she was saying that Look, they're not building up these armies to fight each other, guys. They're building up these armies in this intense military and all this to fight the enemy within, to fight the discontent of workers, to get ready to repress us.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you look at the militarization of the world, yeah, the police are totally in that vein too. Like they got fucking tanks and shit for no reason.
Yep. Why do they? Yep. Mm-hmm. And she also had an essay on Puritanism in American history, kind of tying it to like witch hunts, anti-free speech laws and things, and the patriarchy in general. Okay. She said Puritanism was, a form of dominating women to their detriment mentally and physically and everything. Like it caused a lot of, like expecting chastity before marriage was a big thing that she opposed.
Yeah.
She, said this is, a form of control.
Yep.
And it's got terrible health effects. Like people, they want to bang. And this is like warping them and like
psychologically them. Is not healthy to repress that shit. And furthermore, in that time period, it's extremely common for people to get diagnosis of hysteria, which just translated to female horniness.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just basically called them crazy for being horny.
And she said the flip side of it too, once you do get married, what are you expected to do? Flip that switch. Now you're supposed to pump out children.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And she said that's similarly bad for your health as well.
Oh, for sure.
Also, especially then, I mean, how often are you, even now we're not great with deaths during childbirth compared to other countries.
We're not very bad at it, especially if you're black.
Yep. A good quote from her was, Puritanism is the death of culture, philosophy, humor, and good fellowship. Its characteristics are dullness, monotony, and gloom.
Dude, that's fucking true. I fucking hate Puritan shit.
Yeah. She had a good essay on prostitution as well.
Cool. What she had to say.
She was generally like criticizing society's criticism of prostitution and ways that it tries to target it, saying, hey, this is a result of economic and social inferiority of women, imposed on them by society.
Yeah.
She also equated and basically said women have a choice in our society to sell themselves in prostitution or to sell themselves in marriage.
I was going to say the same fucking thing. Yep. When you're given limited options,
she said it's just a different form of it.
For sure.
And she defended it kind of as an institution throughout history.
Yeah.
She also raised the point of, which I think is now kind of just accepted as a critique of our society now even, but then especially for sure. Sexism in terms of raising kids is like, well, boys, we tell them, it's seen as like normal for them to go out, sell your oats. Mm-hmm. And whereas for women, it's seen as like a disaster, oh no, you're loose. This sort of thing.
Yeah. She was ahead of the time there, for sure.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I'm glad she was like pro-sex work.
She was against women's suffrage.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was weird.
She was against suffrage in general is why. So
I guess, she wasn't into voting, so.
Right. Her explanation kind of came around as like, well, it is a government, and when you agree to suffrage and you vote and you're saying, I'm going to be a part of this, I'm going to vote, you're agreeing to, from her point of view, get oppressed by those politicians that you put into power.
Yeah, you're entering a contract, I guess.
Yeah. So she raised a good point that I think we all agree with now is voting won't do it, man. Voting won't set you free.
It won't. Yeah, it ain't the end all be all.
Yeah, for sure. She made the argument that there are better, more direct ways to get stuff that you want done than voting.
I'm done.
And let's see. She was hyper against marriage. That's another thing.
Cool.
Like super against it. Mainly, I think, because of the way that society like we mentioned before, to either sell yourself as a prostitute or sell yourself via marriage in those days.
Oh, yeah. I'm pro-marriage on a personal level, but I think as an institution, it's a problem.
Right, yeah. We don't really have... Well, I mean, I guess there are some economic vestiges of that.
Yeah, so I think my issue is that, one, not everyone wants to get married, and so we don't provide for those people the same way we do married people in terms of financial benefits. Like there are tax issues with being married. Even just having like emergency contacts, it's much harder to set someone up as like your beneficiary if you're not a spouse or related to them. For people who are asexual or just simply aren't interested in marriage, like this causes a lot of problems.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's a thing.
But those are some kind of, points, I guess, that she had.
Yeah, cool.
In her broader philosophy.
The quote corner.
Yeah.
Do we want to move to a different corner?
Let's move to a different corner.
It's not
our game corner.
I guess it's our game corner. Yeah, we're like in. Wasn't that the thing in Pokemon? The game corner. That was like their gambling den.
Yeah, it was called the game corner.
Yeah, we're gonna open the secret switch and go down to Team Rocket's lair.
All right.
No, we're gonna do something stupid. I found a Playbuzz quiz we're gonna take live.
Hell yeah.
Well, not live, but you know what I mean. All right, quiz.
On air.
I sent you the link. Which famous communist are you?
Hell yeah.
The sub, I guess, what is this? The intro copy, I think, is funny. There's been a lot of communists over the years. Some good, some bad. But which one are you?
Damn, Playbuzz.
Yeah.
Said some communists are good. All right.
Understatement here. All right, let's start. All right, question 1. What are you most likely doing at 12 p.m. on a Sunday? Working out, studying, sleeping, hanging out with friends. I'm sleeping.
I'm either sleeping's the most appropriate out of these. Sleeping.
Yeah. Okay, question 2. Which would you least like to give up? Traveling, already did that. Pandemic. Friends. Friends.
Already did that. Pandemic.
Yeah, right. Books and smoking. I don't smoke, so I guess I already did that preemptively. Books or friends? I mean, I guess friends. I'm going to feel like an asshole if I say, like, fine, I'm cool with getting rid of my friends.
I'm going to say that. I'm going to say books.
Say books. I'm going to say friends.
I read a ton, and I count Wikipedia basically as a book.
It is.
So.
It's the internet's book. I'm going to say
Or
friends.
shit that I read online is basically books, so I'm going to say books.
Okay, next question. We have a little Cartman gif here. What is your best trait? I am diligent and smart. I am ambitious and charming. I respect authority. That's a no for me. I'm fun and carefree. No, too much anxiety and depression for that.
No, I'm kind of fun and carefree. I'm not like ditzy fun and carefree.
You're carefree though. You're the chillest person I know.
And I'm fun. I'm not like life of the party fun.
You're fun to you.
Yeah.
You always have fun.
Exactly. I'm going to say that one.
I'm going to feel like an asshole, but I'm going to pick ambitious and charming.
Nice. Or do you think I'm not diligent though? I'm smart, but I'm not diligent.
Yeah, no offense. I don't know if you're diligent. You're smart and carefree. Pick whichever one.
Pick carefree. That's more governing. All right.
Okay. Ooh, Aladdin gif over here. All right. You witness someone stealing a loaf of bread. What do you do? These questions.
Look at these choices.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. Call the police. Nothing.
I'm going to say nothing.
You better not say call the police.
I'm going to say the first one because I was already thinking nothing before I looked at the...
I'll go with the second one. I had to think about it for a second. All right. How important is appearance to you? A lot, a little, not at all, somewhat.
Interesting. Does this mean our appearance or others' appearance?
I assumed it meant mine, but I don't know. Now I'm questioning. I'm going to say a little. I don't know, because aesthetically, I'm like an artist, man. I like things that are pretty.
I'm going to say
somewhat.
I'm going to say a little.
Okay. I did just give myself a haircut because I couldn't stand my fuzzy head anymore. It's bad.
All right.
What one thing would you change about the world? All right. Poverty and hunger, corruption, military aggression, persecution in other countries. I don't know why the other had to be there, but okay. Shit.
What are you going with?
Man, these are good. These are all things I don't like. I think I'd go with, corruption.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go with corruption. They're all good.
I'm going with poverty and hunger.
Classy.
Yeah.
All right. You've got a week out of the office. What do you do? The first option is get drunk. Read a lot. Work from home. Fucking loser. Holiday. That doesn't really specify what kind of holiday.
Oh, like go.
I guess go away, yeah. Week out of the office. I'm not going to get drunk for a whole week. That's a lot.
I'm going to say read a lot.
I'm going to pretend we're not on a pandemic and say holiday. Ooh.
Which Greek god would you be?
Oh, this is good. I mean, Dionysus did know how to party. Hermes, Athena, and Adonis.
What does Hermes do?
He's the messenger guy. He's the one with
He just sends messengers?
He's got flying shoes. It's pretty cool. He's also like a kind of a trickster. He's pretty cool, actually.
Okay. Athena, what does she do?
Wisdom and war. So, not great. Well, not really war. Wisdom and like something else. She likes war.
And Adonis?
I think he was just hot, right? I didn't think he was a god.
Yeah, people will describe people's,
Yeah.
people, an Adonis,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. An astonishingly handsome young man.
That's it? He's not even a god, is he?
He gets gored by a
Yeah,
wild
he's not even a
boar.
god. He just is a guy that some god wanted to fuck, which ain't a bad place to be in. Except a lot of those people die. I'm going to say Dionysus. He had orgies and drank a lot of wine. Not that that's what I would do, but it sounds
That's all
fun.
he does?
Yeah. He has a cult, or he had a cult. Maybe there's still some Dionysus people out there. They would like do crazy dances and shit.
Well, I'm going to go with Adonis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna lean into the himbo
He was the first himbo.
side of him. So yeah, I'll go with him.
Man, I don't know. Athena's like wise, and she like has an owl, but she also like doesn't get to have sex.
Ever?
I don't think so. I think that was her thing too. She was into virgins and being one. I'm gonna say Dionysus. It sounds fun. Dionysus, however you say his name. All right. What would you buy if you won the lottery? A motorbike? Wine? What kind of wine?
A new tie.
A new
What
tie?
kind of tie?
These are horrible options.
Although, to be fair, a new tie is not a bad thing. You have all that money from the lottery, you can set yourself up otherwise, and then just live like frugally off of it forever.
I guess that's true. And a library is the last option. That's a pretty good option. I'm not really into these. I mean, I guess, okay,
These are not good options.
they're not. Practically speaking, the thing I used out of these would be wine.
I'm going to vote for wine because, I don't want to buy a library because I would just go to the library or like just buy books.
What if you get to
that I want.
donate a library?
Well, I guess, yeah.
I'm going with wine.
I guess I'll donate.
You don't have to donate a library.
though. No, wine. That's what I already picked.
Yeah, you
All
get a cool wine cellar. All right, what one job do you think you'd be good at? Tax collector? Nope.
You would.
Me? Oh, I guess I am the tax czar.
Tax czar, yeah.
I just can't do the math. I just trust that you're going to send in the right amount.
Yeah.
I'm just going to send everyone a letter that says, please. Diplomat. Oh, gosh. I swear too much. I don't know. I think I'd be mean.
Yeah, you would tell people when they said something stupid.
Yeah.
And then they would be like, you're mean.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. Hairdresser. I did just give myself a haircut. And professor. Well, I know which one you're picking.
Yeah, I think I'll go professor. I lean diplomat somewhat, but
Yeah, I got to go hairdresser. I give myself haircuts, and I enjoy doing it.
I'm going to do professor. Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Here we go.
Results.
Calculating. Oh, you look happy. I got Karl Marx.
I got Karl Marx.
Oh, no. We're the same. This happens to us a lot when we take quizzes.
We answered differently on several things,
We
though.
did. All right. You are Karl Marx, the most famous and original of all communists. You literally wrote the book on communism, in fact. What does this mean for you? You're something of a bohemian type, okay? With a revolutionary approach to things like shaving, washing, and tidying. we nasty. But who cares? You're ideologically pure, so whatever. Okay.
Nice. I wonder what the other options are.
I took it blindly yesterday just to make sure that it wasn't like a prank or something, and you could have gotten Che Guevara, so
Oh,
that would have been cool.
yeah.
Maybe you had to answer that you were like super hot or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Smoke cigars all the time.
Mhm. Oh yeah, you wouldn't want to give up smoking.
All right. So we are both Karl Marx.
Okay. Good to know.
We have to rename this the Marx and Marx
Apparently.
podcast.
We the Marx siblings. Okay.
All right. So for next time, what do you want to learn about?
So I want to go kind of, I don't know if silly is the right word, kind of out there for next week.
Out there. Okay. In what way?
I think we should watch a movie, and we came up with a list, and I picked RoboCop.
RoboCop. Dang. Yeah. Okay. I had this recommended to me. My friend recommended a few different dystopian movies, and this was one of them. It's really good in terms. It's an 80s sci-fi
Fuck yeah.
movie, so it's got some of that kind of
That flavor.
budgety looking stuff, and yeah, but it has a really good. What's the way to put it?
Maybe like anti-fascist.
Yeah, it's got some really good anti-fascist messages in it. Kind of.
Cool.
It's a critique of like kind of a RoboCop, a police state, that sort of thing.
All right, cool.
So it should be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I was honestly surprised to see it on our potential movie list, so that's why I picked it. So, so sure, why not?
Yeah.
All
right.
Cool. I'm excited. So you can find us online. You can find us on Twitter at teachcommunism, Instagram at teachmecommunism, and Gmail is teachmecommunism@gmail.com. Send us listener questions. I've also recently got a couple listener questions in our Instagram. FYI, I don't check that one as often as I do email. So if you want to make sure you're seen, maybe send an email instead. But I'm trying to check it more often now.
Yeah, either one will do. Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll get it. Make sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And yeah, that makes us very happy when that happens.
Yes, it does.
What else? Anything else? Oh yeah, we have a Patreon. We haven't talked about that in forever. There's only like one thing on it.
If you love us and you just, you think that we don't have enough money and you want to help us out, you can go to our Patreon. Patreon.com/teachmecommunism.
Yes. We're also on YouTube. If that is your preferred podcast listening method, pull us up on there. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you for presenting such a great research.
Thank you. Project. I got out my trifold poster and the hot glue gun, and I worked really hard. And I got that wavy border trim. Yeah,
I was going to say that border trim was on point.
Thank you.
That really, made it pop.
Yeah.
And the little round letters thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was good.
Thank you.
Presentation is important.
It better be, or I'm out of a job. Okay, yeah. Thanks for teaching me shit.
Yeah, anytime. And listeners, you can catch us next week on another episode of Teach Me Communism, where the class struggle is always in session.
All right, later.
Bye.